Emery, come quick! My assistant Kelsey called from the back office, her voice trembling. I dropped the tray of sample candles I was arranging and rushed past the display racks of eco-friendly scents, lavender cedar, bergamot vanilla, pine smoke, straight into the heart of my boutique. Kelsey pointed at the screen of our inventory dashboard, eyes wide. We're missing 3 wholesale pallets. They were marked delivered, but I never received them. I stared at the screen, my stomach twisting. No one told me anything about a delivery, I muttered, grabbing my phone to check emails. No alerts. No invoice. Just a glaring red fulfilled stamp dated 2 days ago. That wasn't possible. I'd been here the entire week, personally managing logistics. My name is Emery Dawson, I'm 28, and I built Ember and Sage, a luxury candle brand, out of my garage during the pandemic. 3 years of sweat, sleepless nights, and TikTok launches brought me to this tiny storefront in Asheville, North Carolina. And now, something was off. I called the distributor immediately. Yes, ma'am. 3 pallets picked up and signed for on Tuesday morning. The name on the form was, he paused, rustling papers. Robert Dawson. I froze. My father? The next moment, I was already grabbing my keys. I drove the 15 minutes to my parents' house in silence, gripping the wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. My childhood neighborhood hadn't changed. Same trimmed hedges, same porch flags, same illusion of safety. But I had changed. I barely knocked before letting myself in. The smell of overcooked lasagna hit me first, Mom's comfort food weapon of choice. Emery, my mother called cheerfully from the kitchen. We weren't expecting you. You look flushed, honey. Are you okay? I didn't answer her. I looked to the living room, and sure enough, there he was. My father, Robert Dawson, reclined in his leather chair, the remote in one hand, the iPad in the other. Like always. Dad, I said sharply. Did you sign for 3 pallets from Stonebridge Distributors on Tuesday? He looked up slowly. Blinked. What pallets? Don't lie to me. The silence stretched. Then, just for a second, his jaw clenched. It was a business decision, he said finally. My stomach dropped. I took a step closer. What kind of business decision involves selling off thousands of dollars in inventory that doesn't belong to you? Emery, my mom said, rushing over, voice coated in that soft, overcompensating concern. Your father thought it was the best thing to do. We were approached with an offer. I turned to her, stunned. Dad set the remote down with a sigh, as if I were an inconvenience. A contact of mine at the Rotary Club mentioned a retail buyer in Raleigh. They made an offer, double wholesale price. I took it. You sold my product without telling me? You've been under so much stress. I didn't want to pile on. Besides, we helped you start Ember and Sage. The house, the garage, your first loan. It's all been under our name. Technically, we still have a stake. Technically. That word hit me like a slap. I stared at the 2 people who raised me, who'd encouraged me to follow my dreams, and realized they saw my business not as my creation but as collateral. My voice shook. You didn't just sell candles. You sold my work. My relationships. My brand integrity. Dad shrugged. It was a simple flip. You made a profit. They're planning to rebrand and relabel for their own stores, so it's not like anyone will know it was you. That was the moment it clicked. This wasn't ignorance. This was premeditated. You signed a non-compete clause with the distributor 2 years ago, I said, barely able to breathe. What you did was illegal. He didn't flinch. Prove it. My mom gasped softly. Robert. No, let her, he said. She wants to run her little empire, then let her deal with real-world consequences. I turned and walked out without another word. As I stepped into the summer heat, my heart pounded not just with betrayal, but clarity. They thought I wouldn't fight back. They had no idea what was coming. Back at the shop, the air felt heavier than usual, like the walls themselves had heard everything my father said. I walked through Ember and Sage in silence, past the amber jars I'd hand-poured, the wall of customer thank-you notes, and the framed first dollar I ever earned at the Sunday market. This wasn't just inventory. It was identity. And they sold it like a garage sale. Kelsey looked up from the front counter as I came in, her face full of cautious sympathy. What happened? They sold it, I said simply. My parents sold 3 full pallets behind my back. Her eyes widened. Wait, what? How is that even legal? It's not, I said, my voice flat. But they think they can outmaneuver me. I didn't cry. Not yet. Crying would come later. Right now I was making a plan. That night I pulled out the original contracts from my safe. Every vendor agreement, ownership filing, LLC paperwork, and supplier NDA I'd ever signed. I read until my eyes burned. And then I found it. Page 11. Paragraph 4. Subsection B. Any sale, redistribution, or relabeling of branded product by an outside party without written consent from the licensee constitutes breach of contract and may trigger civil litigation. I exhaled. Slowly. There it was. The next morning, I booked a consultation with Vivian Keller, a corporate attorney known for working with women-owned startups. Sharp, discreet, expensive. Her office was in a high-rise near downtown Asheville, filled with dark wood and silence. She listened to everything, the unauthorized sale, the forged signature, the breach of exclusivity, and didn't interrupt once. When I finished, she adjusted her glasses. Do you have physical proof of your father's involvement? I have the delivery confirmation signed in his name. And the original vendor contracts are in your LLC's name alone? Yes. She smiled. Not kindly. Strategically. Then we have leverage. Quite a bit of it, actually. That evening, I emailed Alyssa Brenner, a local journalist from Channel 8 News who had interviewed me a year ago for a feature called Small Business Firebrands. She'd liked me. We'd stayed in occasional touch. Her reply came within 2 hours. Holy hell. Want to go public? I hesitated. I knew what that meant: cameras, headlines, questions. My family's reputation. Mine. But then I thought of the buyer in Raleigh. Of my parents cashing in on something I built with burned fingertips and skipped meals. Of the months of work I just lost, and the customers who would receive Ember and Sage candles stripped of my name. I replied, "Let's talk." In the days that followed, I prepared carefully. Vivian helped draft a cease and desist letter to the buyer in Raleigh. I gathered customer testimonials, timelines, even screenshots of text messages from my mom that subtly hinted they'd been managing business stuff while I was focused on branding. Meanwhile, Alyssa and I met in a quiet coffee shop on the east side. She brought a notebook. I brought fire. This is more than a family fight, I told her. This is about ownership, about erasure. They think they can silence me with technicalities and family guilt. She nodded slowly. And you're ready for this to be public? Absolutely. I didn't just want legal closure. I wanted accountability. I wanted people to know what happened when power and entitlement tried to claim what wasn't theirs. And more than anything, I wanted my story back. 2 days after my meeting with Alyssa, I was alone in the store restocking jars when I heard the bell over the front door chime. I didn't look up. Hi, sweetheart. It was my mother. She stood in the doorway with a plastic container of lemon bars, the kind she used to make when I was sick as a kid. Her blouse was perfectly pressed, her hair done like she was heading to church. But there was something tight in her smile. Mom, I said, still stacking. I was just in the area, she lied, setting the container on the counter. I didn't respond. She hovered for a moment, glancing around like she hadn't been in here 100 times before. Place looks good, she said. I always loved how it smells in here. Like eucalyptus and ambition. I finally looked at her. What do you want? She paused, her fingers grazing a row of wick trimmers near the register. Emery, I know you're upset. I'm beyond upset. She nodded slowly. Okay. You're hurt. I understand. But going to a lawyer? Talking to journalists? Her voice dropped to a whisper. Is that really necessary? You forged my consent and sold my inventory. I think it qualifies. She winced. It wasn't personal. We thought it would help. Your father, he just didn't want to see you flounder. It was a business opportunity and we've supported you from day one. I stared at her. You think support gives you ownership? No, but she trailed off. We were worried. You've been stressed. Sales were slowing. You needed a win. A win, echoed incredulous. So your idea of helping is to gut my brand behind my back and sell it white-label to strangers? She bit her lip, tried again. If you go to the news, it'll ruin everything. The trust. Your father's name. His reputation in the community. You know how people talk. I was quiet for a moment. Then, did you come here to apologize? Or to contain the damage? Silence. The only sound in the shop was the soft hum of the air conditioner and the faint crackle of a lavender cedar test candle burning by the window. I came to ask you to think this through, she said finally. We're your family. You don't drag family through the mud. I stepped forward slowly, placing both hands on the counter between us. You dragged me first. She opened her mouth, but I raised a hand. No more soft talk. No more lemon bars and guilt trips. I know exactly what you're doing. You want me quiet, invisible, easy to manage. I leaned in. Not anymore. Later that night, I stood by my laptop, rereading Alyssa's message. We're cleared for airtime. You'll lead the segment. Want me to send you questions in advance? I typed back just 2 words. No. Let's roll. The day of the interview, I stood outside the Channel 8 studio parking lot gripping a travel mug of too hot coffee, watching a light rain smear across my windshield. My heart hadn't stopped pounding since I woke up. Inside, the building buzzed with low conversations and the humming of production equipment. Lights. Boom mics. Controlled chaos. Alyssa met me in the hallway, clipboard in hand, blazer over a black turtleneck. Cool, composed, but her eyes softened when she saw me. You ready? I exhaled. As I'll ever be. She guided me to the studio, small, cold, surgical. A single chair. A glass table with a flower arrangement I barely noticed. Cameras locked into place like sentries. Someone dusted powder on my face and clipped a mic to my lapel. My hands were ice. Segments called Stolen from Within, Alyssa said quietly as the crew counted down. Just speak like you're telling a friend. Don't worry about phrasing, just truth. 3, 2. The red light blinked on. She began with the basics. My guest tonight is Emery Dawson, founder of Ember and Sage, a boutique candle brand that gained regional acclaim and national interest during the pandemic. But behind the success was a betrayal, not from competitors, but from her own family. She turned to me. Emery, thank you for being here. I nodded, my voice low but steady. Thanks for having me. Let's start with the moment you realized something was wrong. I described the missing inventory, the forged signature, the phone call to the distributor, my father's name on the delivery receipt. Every sentence I spoke felt like tearing bandages off wounds I hadn't realized were still bleeding. They didn't just take product, I said. They took trust, control. They assumed I wouldn't fight back because I owed them something, because they were family. Alyssa leaned in. What do you want people to understand from this story? I looked directly into the camera. That support doesn't mean surrender. That being someone's daughter doesn't make you their property. That building something on your own means you have the right to protect it, even from the people who helped you start. The studio fell silent. Even the camera crew paused. Alyssa closed the segment with a brief nod. We'll be back after the break. Stay tuned. I didn't check my phone for hours after the interview aired. When I finally unlocked it that night, there were 187 unread messages. Emails from customers. DMs from women who owned small businesses. Journalists. Lawyers. Even a contact at a podcast I'd admired for years. But 3 messages stood out. All from my mother. Message 1. How dare you put this on television? Message 2. You've humiliated your father. Message 3. We need to talk before this gets worse. I deleted them without responding. The next morning, Alyssa texted me a screenshot from a Raleigh subreddit. Local store caught in licensing scandal. Owner says she never authorized relabeling. CEO pulls out of Dawson family deal. PR nightmare. And beneath it, it's working. You're being heard. By the following Monday, the tremors had begun. First came the email from Stonebridge Distributors. Emery, we've reviewed your legal filing and suspended all shipments connected to the Dawson contract. We're pursuing civil action for breach on our end as well. Thank you for notifying us. I stared at the screen, stunned. That was it, the buyer in Raleigh? Gone. The relabeling? Frozen. The damage hadn't been undone, but it was contained. Then came the letter from my lawyer Vivian. Robert Dawson and Company have been officially served. Our suit includes unauthorized sale of protected goods, misrepresentation of ownership, and digital forgery. At the bottom, they have 7 days to respond. That night, as I sat at the kitchen table sipping a glass of Merlot, my phone buzzed with a call from a blocked number. I let it go to voicemail. Not 2 minutes later, a text came through. It was a photo. A photo of my father standing on the front steps of his country club being escorted out. Caption underneath, sent anonymously, read, Board review pending. Conflict of ethics. I exhaled slowly. He never thought there'd be consequences. Later that week, a courier delivered a handwritten letter to my store. No postage. Just my name on the envelope in my mother's script. I opened it cautiously, half expecting guilt, denial, maybe another manipulation. Instead, you've made your point. Your father is being removed from 3 boards. His business partners are asking questions. Your aunt stopped speaking to us. Was this really worth it? I folded the letter in half and placed it under the counter without replying. Yes, it was worth it. Because for once, they weren't the ones deciding what silence cost. By Friday, Channel 8 had posted the full interview online. It hit 2.1 million views in 3 days. Comments poured in. This is every woman who built something and was told it didn't belong to her. Tell me there's a follow-up. I've been Emery. I never got to speak out. And one that hit like a punch to the gut. My mom forged a loan in my name. I didn't fight. You did. Thank you. I wasn't just a headline. I was a warning shot. But the fallout wasn't over. One afternoon, as I closed up shop early to prep for a vendor fair, Kelsey peeked her head in from the back. There's someone here to see you. I turned and froze. My father stood in the doorway. Not angry. Not smug. Small. His khakis hung looser. His usual button-down was wrinkled. His eyes, for once, avoided mine. Can we talk? He asked, voice low. I didn't move. He took a tentative step inside. I didn't think you'd go through with it. I raised an eyebrow. You didn't think I'd choose truth over loyalty? No, he said. I didn't think you'd choose yourself over us. That, I replied, is the problem. He stood there for a long moment, silent. I'm not here to fight. I just wanted you to know I'm stepping away from everything. From the business groups. From the sale. It's done. I nodded. And his eyes flicked to the counter, the heart of ember and sage. You built something. I was too proud to see it. I didn't offer forgiveness. But I did offer a truth of my own. I won't burn the bridge. But I'm not rebuilding it either. He swallowed hard, nodded once, and left. That night, I stood by the candle display I'd rearranged for the 10th time that week, and realized something. The fallout wasn't destruction. It was cleansing. They lost control. I found clarity. 2 months after the story aired, I was standing in a different studio, this time in New York. Lights. Makeup chairs. A green room with bottled water labeled with gold foil. The energy here was different. Faster, brighter, hungrier. I was backstage at Morning in Maine, a nationally syndicated talk show. How did I get here? 'Cause the truth travels fast. Through the local interview hit 2 million views, it was clipped, shared, dissected on TikTok, Twitter, Reddit. Caption became a meme. She took them to church, then took them to court. Within weeks, the producers of Morning in Maine called. We want to do a feature on boundary setting, business ownership, and family betrayal, the assistant said. And we want you. Now, seated across from host Nina Ross, I wore a navy jumpsuit and a steady heartbeat. Nina leaned in with practiced warmth. Emery, when you exposed your parents' betrayal on live television, you didn't just speak up for yourself, you spoke up for thousands of people watching. What gave you the courage? I smiled, soft but unapologetic. I didn't feel courageous. I felt cornered. But the moment I stopped asking myself, will they hate me for this, and started asking, will I hate myself if I don't? That's when I found the strength. The audience clapped gently. It wasn't a standing ovation. It was something better. Respect. After the taping, I stepped out into Manhattan's July heat, a producer trailing behind. Oh, by the way, she said, catching up, we had someone from Harperwild Ventures in the audience. They're looking to invest in women-led wellness brands. Want me to connect you? I blinked. Are you serious? She smiled. You'd be surprised who watches daytime TV. Back in Asheville, Ember and Sage had never been busier. Not because of pity or press, 'cause of clarity. I rebranded everything, not just the packaging but the purpose. No more generic luxury scents. Now, affirmation candles. Names like Unbothered, Not Yours, and Legacy. We launched with a line called the Reclamation Collection. First run sold out in 6 hours. I hired Kelsey full-time and brought on a part-time fulfillment assistant. I launched a wholesale partnership with a women's co-op in Portland. I even gave a TEDx talk at UNC Chapel Hill. And one chilly October morning, I signed a term sheet with Harperwild Ventures for $280,000 in seed investment. As I laid the pen down, I thought of every time I was told I was too emotional, too green, too dramatic. I smiled. Too bad. Because this was mine. It was a Tuesday morning in late November when I saw the envelope in my mailbox. No stamps, no logos. Just my name, handwritten. I already knew. Inside was a folded card, the kind you buy in a rush when words fail. A note scrawled in my mother's unmistakable handwriting. Thanksgiving's at Aunt Celia's this year. We'd like you to come. If you're ready. No expectations. Just a seat at the table. I stared at it for a long time. Not because I didn't know the answer, but because I finally had the freedom to choose, not out of guilt, not out of fear, but from a place of peace. I didn't go. Instead, that Thursday, I opened my store early. The sidewalks of downtown Asheville were quiet, crisp, golden. I lit a tray of testers, resilient, boundary bloom, quiet power. Customers trickled in. Tourists. Locals. One woman whispered, I saw you on TV. I started my own side hustle because of you. And around noon, a teenage girl walked in with her mother. She wandered to the affirmation shelf and picked up a candle called Inheritance. She turned to her mom. "This one smells like Grandma's porch." They both smiled. That was the real legacy. Not trauma, not erasure, but ownership of your own story. Later that night, I sat on my porch with a glass of cider and watched the town slow down. No phone in my hand. No press interview scheduled. No one to convince. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I owed anyone an explanation. Not even my parents. They hadn't apologized. Not really. But that didn't matter. 'Cause forgiveness is not a contract. It's a choice, one I didn't need their permission to make. I'd written new terms, and they were mine alone.